My first introduction with Pikmin was actually Pikmin 2. Like I retroactively at some point went back and played Pikmin 1, but I never finished it. I don't know, it just didn't gel with me like the second one did. And sometimes a lot of times it's kind of hard to just go backwards when playing games unless, one version is clearly superior. But yeah, no, Pikmin 2 was like a big childhood game for me, and I I was at a game store the other day and just was like, hey, Pikmin 3 Deluxe is here. And I played like 10 minutes of it once, but that's about it. Sure, why not? Let's go for it. Let's just give it a shot. So, of course, with that, I was like, well, now I feel like I got to go back and play Pikmin 2. I've already got a Wii set up to play Paper Mario, so let's do it. So I popped that bad boy in and I was just like, good times. So, unlike Pikmin 1, where you're, gathering your ship parts so you can escape the planet and you have a time limit, Pikmin 2 is quite a different story. Instead, your goal is basically, hey, the company you work for is in debt, go find treasure. And so there's tons of treasures just littered throughout each level. And basically, you just gotta find as much as you can, and you have like a debt limit, kind of like in Animal Crossing, where then you can pay off your debt. It's not really your debt, but it's your company's debt. Which, if you, okay, so I mean, it is an old game, but just so you know, I'm gonna spoil a bit. They basically insinuate that your new party member Louis ate all of the pick carrots, which is what put your company in debt in the first place. And if you actually go through the Picklopedia, which is the like monster compendium, he basically like talks about different ways to prep them for eating. It's like, oh, okay, Louis, thanks. But yeah, so you get a new ship. The new ship like kind of has its own personality, but it doesn't really say a whole lot that's useful. Or like I don't know. It's just the ship's not all that exciting, even though it has its own personality. It's just kind of like, ooh, money. Ooh, don't put that in me. It's gonna gum me up. Like, okay, get over yourself. But yeah, you go through, you slowly collect all the Pikmin, you get different treasures, and then like the main game is done once you finish off your debt. But then there's also a post game where instead of just finishing off your debt, you can basically collect as many treasures as you can. Like basically collect all of the treasures in the game. And once you finish the main game, you get like a new area as well. And that has its own like stuff going on. Like once you finish the main game, Louis goes missing, and then you have to go find him, and he's in the new level. And there's a bunch of like really strong bosses in this new area. But I wasn't really feeling that. I just wanted to do the main game for now because those bosses can be tough, like really, really tough. So I was not feeling that. I just wanted to go through the main game, collect enough treasures to pay off the debt, and then I felt satisfied for the most part, even though that post game is very good. But back to the main game. You get your 3 main types of Pikmin again, but this time around you also get 2 new types of Pikmin. There's the purple Pikmin and the white Pikmin, which for some reason don't appear in Pikmin 3, but whatever. The purple Pikmin are heavy, so like you throw them and they like slam on enemies, they can stun them. It's really cool. But they're also stronger, so they count as 10 Pikmin worth of carrying something. But the trade-off is that they're really slow. The white Pikmin are really fast, and they can dig stuff up from underground, and they're also immune to poison. I'm not sure if they're weaker than the other Pikmin, though. Also, if they get eaten, they poison whatever ate them. So that's cool. The unfortunate thing is the only way to reproduce white and purple Pikmin is to throw them into candy pot buds, which are flowers that change your Pikmin's type. And having Pikmin this way is really inconvenient. Like, really, really inconvenient. Because as I was playing, like, it's been years since it's probably been almost a decade or more since I've played Pikmin 2. So I was super rusty, and I had so much trouble keeping my purple and white Pikmin alive, especially my purple Pikmin. Like, I rarely had more than 20. Actually, I don't know if I ever did have more than 20. They kept dying on me because I used them so much. But they're so useful. The yellow Pikmin are also changed from the first game. In the first one, what the yellow Pikmin were, they could be thrown higher and they could use bomb rocks. No, this time around they're immune to electricity. They can still be thrown higher, but they're immune to electricity, and that's really it. Which was kind of nice because that allowed for like a ton of new enemy types. And my goodness, there are a lot of like cool enemy types in Pikmin 2. Now, where the first game was 30 days and took place, I think, entirely above ground, unless there was like one level where it wasn't, but Pikmin 2 is primarily underground. There's like these underground segments, which once you go in there, it pauses the time of day. So even though I finished as early as, I think, it was before day 20, I know that for a fact. Like I didn't even make it to day 20 before I finished the main game. And there's also no time limit, so you really have as much time as you want. But most of those times were underground, which is, again, when time is frozen. So it probably evens out to quite a bit more than what your final day count actually ends up being. Like it's probably almost double, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah, I really enjoyed having, collecting the treasures again. I think that was like the peak of where Pikmin's gotten as far as collectibles. That's the most fun to collect. Then you get like kind of like a 360 view of whatever treasure you got. Sometimes treasures can like give you extra bonuses. So certain dungeons, it's better to like complete in a certain order. Like in one dungeon, the boss gives you the pluckaphone, which all you have to do is use your whistle to pluck Pikmin, which makes it way faster. But the trade-off to that one is you have to fight the water wraith, and that is like the scariest enemy in the entire game. Well, okay, it's probably the second scariest enemy. The scariest being the Titan Dweevil, which is the final post-game boss. But no, water wraith, I got flashbacks as soon as I saw it. I was like, oh god, that's right! This is here. I do have to say, though, one of the problems with Pikmin 2 is it is a fair bit more complicated than I think any of the other Pikmin games. Like, you'll go into certain, like, dungeons, and it'll say what types of hazards are in it. So you're like, okay, I need these types of Pikmin. But you don't know how much of them you're going to need, which I was very fortunate enough to still have my official Nintendo Pikmin 2 guide from when the game first came out. So that gives recommendations based on like what Pikmin you should have with you and how many of each. So, that was nice. But yeah, it's a fair bit complicated when you go into dungeons. It's very lucky that time freezes while you're in there so that it's like, oh, did I miss something? Okay, I can just try again and it won't like cost me any time. Yeah, Pikmin 2 is really fun. So I'm glad I played it again, even though I was struggling a little bit. But I kind of got to get hyped for Pikmin 4, so I also wanted to play Pikmin 3 Deluxe. Right away, Pikmin 3 plays a fair bit different from Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 1. You don't have the GameCube controller anymore, obviously, but oh my god, the controls are so different. There's so many more different functions. There's a lock-on function now. You can't like use your normal swarm. Like the C-stick used to be like a swarm thing where it's just like, oh here, I want all my Pikmin to go in this direction. That's not a thing anymore. Now you have a button to make your Pikmin charge, and it makes all of one type of Pikmin charge, unless you press it multiple times. And I like that. It's not what I'm used to, but it's good. The lock-on function was definitely helpful in a lot of situations because there's a lot of enemies that move around. Like even in Pikmin 2 and Pikmin 1, there are like flying enemies where it's just like you kind of have to guess as to where they are, so you're just kind of throwing Pikmin all over the place. But to have the lock-on function, oh, it's so nice. It kind of trivializes them, but it's so nice. Which I think gives them more leeway to add more types of enemies to different areas. And my goodness, the enemies in this one are crazy. They're crazy. Like, I think in one of like the early areas, there's these like weird fire slugs. Like they're just entirely made of fire, and it's just like, oh, well, clearly I gotta use my fire Pikmin for this. So in this one, instead of collecting treasures, you're collecting fruits. There are challenge levels where you collect like other stuff, but for the most part, it's like you're collecting fruits and you're just going through the story mode. And I gotta say, I didn't really like the story mode quite as much as just being given free reign to just go at it. I mean, you kind of get that, but even if you haven't collected all the fruits or whatever, like once you finish the story mode's done. You can go back to each individual day and try to like get the best time and collect as much as possible. But you're not just like, oh, just go here and just go back to old levels and just get stuff. It's like, no, you're done with the story mode. Like, okay, sure, I guess. So that aspect was a little disappointing, but gameplay-wise, it is quite good. The challenge levels are fun. For the most part, there's a couple that were very frustrating. There are quite a few enemies missing between Pikmin 2 and 3, but some of the new Pikmin 3 enemies are pretty good. The final boss was a nightmare because you have to use every Pikmin type, and it kills them really fast. instead of 2 people, now you get 3, and you can actually throw your party members. So there's tons of puzzles based around that. It's super weird. Yeah, there's a lot more like puzzles going into this one. Whereas before it was like, yes, there's puzzles, but it's also kind of like resource management, defeating enemies. That's like, yeah, all of that's still in here, but there's so much more involved with the puzzle like portion of it. I'm not sure what I want out of Pikmin 4, but I'm not sure how I felt about 3. It felt a little too short, it felt a little too restrictive, but it was still really fun. Like, it plays really well. Like, I can't deny that. I'm kind of hoping in 4 they try to do the best of both worlds between 2 and 3. I kind of was upset that they got rid of 2 Pikmin types from 2 to 3. And, like, I guess they kind of replaced them to a degree, which, I mean, take that how you will, I guess. But it would be nice to bring all of them back, because this time around, the onions, there's not multiple different onions this time. That's how they did them before, but now it's all just one big onion. Each time you get a new one, they just kind of fuse together. And I kind of like that. It makes it a lot more convenient. And there's also a function on it where you can just retrieve all types at once, so that you can like even out your team and you don't have to like scroll through each removal process and just take forever. No, it's just super fast and convenient now. I do think it would be really fun to have every Pikmin type back for 4, but my guess is either they're going to bring the exact same types back, or they're going to replace Rock and Wing Pikmin again. Just like, oh, we have our game exclusive Pikmin, let's do new ones. I wouldn't like that as much, but I'm going to guess that's probably what they're going to do. And so on the box for Deluxe, as well as the logo for Pikmin 4, I've noticed that there's like yellow flower Pikmin, and I'm curious if that's going to be a thing. Because in the first Pikmin, once you Pikmin flower, you have white flowers on them, and then in Pikmin 2, the white and purple Pikmin had purple flowers. And then the Rock and Wing Pikmin also have purple flowers. So if they add new types of Pikmin to the next game, maybe they're going to have yellow flowers? Really not sure about that one. I guess we'll have to see. Yeah, I don't know. Pikmin's not generally a type of game that I would expect to want to play. It's probably just nostalgia keeping me going at this point, but yeah, I do like it. It's very understandable where people can find it fun. It's resource management, it's strategizing, it's precision, there's puzzle solving. There's a lot going on in Pikmin. So yeah, I think for the first time since it got announced, I think I'm excited for Pikmin 4. I'll probably get it. I mean, why not? Obviously I want to see more of what comes out about it, but who knows? It'll probably be really fun. I mean, it's been a long time coming. I mean, Pikmin 3 came out for the Wii U, and they just released the deluxe version, I think, last year? I don't know. But yeah, it's been a long time coming for another sequel. I didn't realize so soon after replaying Pikmin 2 and 3 that Pikmin 4 was coming out so soon. So I guess we'll just lump all these together. Why not? God, it feels like so long ago that I actually started my Pikmin journey, I guess. I can't believe Pikmin is still going. There have been so many series that have been treated worse, and Pikmin, doesn't get games too often, but it just got a new game. It was great, and I guess a lot more people are now playing it. It's so weird to be from the generation I am, which was, just like really getting into video games, and now they're just so mainstream, and these niche series are, actually doing well. It's incredible. At any rate, Pikmin 4, kind of, when I started it, it was fun, but it kind of, towards the beginning, felt like, between Pikmin 2 and 3, this kind of feels like the best of both worlds. Like, we're back to collecting treasure, we're back to cave spelunking, but it's also got, the fluidity of Pikmin 3. Not only that, it's got extra features, but I'm really, impressed with how well they did with this game. So the main premise of the game is that you're a a rescue person. I forget, I think, did they just call it the Rescue Corps? Anyway, your goal is basically to go to the Pikmin world and rescue Olimar, and also then you have to rescue your team that also crash landed, as well as a bunch of other random people that also crash landed on the planet. The initial main series goal is to rescue your team and then rescue Olimar, but there's other people in there. And as per usual, you start off with red Pikmin and just kind of start building your army before, slowly getting access to the other Pikmin. But as opposed to previous, where each game kind of added a new party member onto what you have. This time it's like 4 might be a lot, so they added Ochi. And I gotta say, Ochi is a good addition. Initially, Ochi can't do a whole lot, but pretty quickly you can ride on Ochi. Ochi can start getting like upgrades so that Ochi can swim in water or like dig up treasure faster. And slowly but surely, Ochi becomes like a second Pikmin army, which is so incredibly useful. I mean, if you like upgrade Ochi's carrying strength like right away, then Ochi can just like solo a lot of stuff. But yeah, it will take pretty much the entire game to fully upgrade Ochi, which is a little disappointing because, by the end it's like, well, I'm not going to be really playing anymore because the game is done, so what's the point? Same thing goes with a lot of like personal upgrades for your character. Like in Pikmin 2, you can slowly get little upgrades like, fire immunity and electricity immunity and maybe running faster or having a bigger whistle. Unfortunately, they kind of go in an order. So unlike in Pikmin 2, where if you go to a specific dungeon, you can get the Pluckaphone, which allows you to just pluck Pikmin by whistling at them. That's like very, very late in the game, which is a little disappointing. But, it also kind of feels like a nice gradual slope. It's not like overwhelming you with everything all at once, and it doesn't let you overwhelm yourself. So I guess that's fine. The caves this time around feel a lot more like purposeful. In Pikmin 2, they were just kind of like, they had their layout, and then some of the stuff was randomly placed around them, which was not the best. But no, this time everything is purposeful, everything is in a proper place. It's a lot more puzzle oriented rather than, I don't know what else you'd call Pikmin 2, but like there's a purpose to everything and where it's placed and how you navigate the area. So that's kind of cool. In addition, there's another new thing to this game, which is Dandori. There's Dandori battles and then there's Dandori trials. I think that's what they're called. But the idea is in Dandori battles, you go up against usually Olimar or a Leafling, which would, if you played Pikmin 1 and you got the bad ending, you'd kind of understand what that means. And it's basically like the 2-player mode in Pikmin 2, where your goal is to collect the most treasure and get the most points and beat out the opponent by, depending on the amount you beat them by, you can get like a better rating. You can get like bronze, silver, gold, platinum, that kind of stuff. And then as far as Dandori Trials, you have a specific goal in mind. Usually it's collect all the treasures or beat all the enemies, and you're timed on that, and you just have to, collect everything by the time the timer's done. And I gotta say, I really like this idea. I'm generally not like a time trials type of person, but Dandori is like really useful in regards to just Pikmin in general. I mean, it's kind of always been a concept, but it's never really been, voiced or really pronounced or encouraged. But Pikmin 1 was all about Dandori. Basically, all you have to do is just do things efficiently in a timely manner. That's Dandori. And in Pikmin 1, that was the name of the game. That was entirely what it was about. You had, 30 days, 15 days? I think it was 30 days to finish the game. And if you ran out of time, then you'd get the bad ending. But if you finished before the 30 days, you'd get the good ending. And so that's kind of like placed around the game in various spots. And it kind of helps with learning how to manage your time. I would say having really, really good Dandori helps you get like the higher rated medals for each challenge or battle. But in the main game, it doesn't really matter all that much. Because unlike Pikmin 3, you don't really need to collect juice to survive. You can survive. You can go as long as you want, which I like. I don't like having a time limit on the main game. But having Dandori also helps you with one of the post-game challenges, which is basically replaying through Pikmin 1 with the Pikmin 4 skin. Like you go through all the Pikmin 4 levels doing the plot of the first game, which is collecting all the ship parts. And I thought that was really cool, and it's a nice little challenge. You get, I think you get 15 days, so it's like half the time of before, but because you've been learning about Dandori this entire time, you can probably better manage your time. Speaking of level layout, I feel like the level layout is, I don't know how to compare it. I would say in some aspects it's better, and in some aspects it feels less. I don't know how to say it exactly. I mean, there were some aspects in like Pikmin 3 that have been kind of changed or adjusted. Like in Pikmin 3, you could like build bridges to places, but this time it's like, rather than just having all the pieces and just kind of bringing them over and throwing them somewhere, now you have to collect the raw materials, and then your Pikmin will bring those to the ship, and then you need to go to whatever bridge or whatever you need to build, and then use your Pikmin on that, and then they'll run back to the ship to pick up the raw materials that you had collected earlier. And that, in and of itself, seems way less convenient, and I don't understand why that change was necessary. Maybe it's because it's, you know, fewer models for the... Well, no, I don't see why that would be fewer, like, 3D models to make. I don't know. It's a weird choice. It's a weird choice. I don't know what else to say about it. You know, there's a few other puzzles, a few other things you can use raw materials for, but it's, for the most part, it's fine. It's just, it's weird and different, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. But I guess on the plus side, you don't need to find a very specific spot for your Pikmin to get these pieces and bring them somewhere. You can literally just, oh, I have raw materials, let me just do it. So I guess in that sense, it's probably a little better. As far as the actual Pikmin go, we finally got all the Pikmin types back. You know, Pikmin 1 had the first 3, Pikmin 2 added the purple and the white, and then Pikmin 3 added rock and wing Pikmin but took out the purple and white Pikmin, which was a little disappointing. But, you know, the game was balanced around not having the purple and white Pikmin. But this time you got everything. The only issue I have is some of those Pikmin you really don't get until way late. So it kind of feels like 90% of the game is not made to have some of those Pikmin. And initially, the only way you can get certain Pikmin is with candy pop buds, which just change one Pikmin to another type of Pikmin. Ice Pikmin, I think, you get that onion on one of the last couple levels. Like, not one of the last levels, but on a very much later level. Like, I would say about... Yeah, you get that on the last one of the main game, but then, you know, there's post-game levels, kind of. And you can get the purple and white onions, which, that's a first. But that's only on a post-game challenge called the Sage Leaf. And those are Dandori trials that are incredibly difficult. Like, or at least if you want a good rating. If you want a good rating, they are so hard. Yeah, having every type of Pikmin is great, but yeah, the fact that you don't get some of the Pikmin until like pretty much the end of the game, and then by that point it's like, why do I even need these now? What am I using them for? They're in some of the challenge levels, but you know, like I think the wing Pikmin is like kind of one of the last ones you get. You really don't get, I think by like the last or second to last level, like getting to it, I only had like 5 wing Pikmin, and it was like, well, I hadn't lost any, and I really hadn't used them because I had like none of them. One definitely significant change, speaking of the onions, is that when you start the game, I think you only start with 20 available Pikmin, and then you have to kind of earn more by getting Flarlick, which was never a thing. Before, you could always just start with 100, and now it's like you have 20, and you have to collect these Flarlicks so that you can use more Pikmin at a time. It's kind of strange not being able to start with 100 Pikmin, because normally, like, you start Pikmin and like the first day or two, all you're doing is building your Pikmin army. But this time around, it's like, okay, well, you can build your army, but you can only use this many at a time. It's like, oh, well, ugh. And they kind of, I would say, to some degree, balance the game around that. One thing I noticed is that I could go through nearly every level, in fact, maybe every level, just as I was, you know, go through that level, collect everything, then I can move on to the next. I'd never had to, like, come back, which, that was something I kind of liked in Pikmin 2, was you do a level, and then it's like, oh, well, here's a barrier I can't get past because I don't have these specific type of Pikmin. But they don't have that this time. Now it's like, oh, well, when you start this level, you have all the tools you need to finish it. Good luck. And that was a little disappointing, but they also changed it so that now you can only have 3 Pikmin out at a time, which I both understand and don't understand. I mean, on one hand, you've only ever been able to have up to 5 before, and, you know, also managing 5 or more Pikmin types at a time might be a bit much, but only 3 at a time? I guess it kind of gives each type of Pikmin a time to shine, especially because you can just press the auto button to take out whatever the recommended type of Pikmin are, which is nice because before, like Pikmin 2, you pretty much had to guess unless you were me and you had the guide, which gave you recommendations on what to take with you. So there are like a lot of little quality of life fixes, but there's also a lot of, hey, we're going to kind of hinder you early on so that you can kind of slowly, gradually make your way up in the game. I'm kind of back and forth on that one. I both like it and don't like it. Now, to upgrade yourself, you
pretty much have to rescue people. You have to rescue your crewmates. There's one that you get kind of early on. I think they're all like in a set order. I don't think going to a specific place unlocks a specific person. I think it's just what order is the rescues? What order are the rescues going to be in? Oh, they're going to be in this order. Okay, well this person's next then. So yeah, it's like, of course, I think the captain, which helps you, upgrade Ochi, she is a very early one, and I think she's scripted. I think you are going to like a specific area to rescue her, like very early on. Same with the first person you rescue. He's also scripted, but one of the early ones you rescue helps you upgrade your player character, and then you have to spend raw materials on that. And I felt like there was a difference between raw materials that you can use to build bridges and stuff versus raw materials that you can use to upgrade yourself. And I'm not sure if that's true or not. I found it very confusing. Speaking of those types of collection numbers, collecting treasures, now it's not measured in money, it's measured in sparklium, which I don't understand. That was an interesting choice. But yeah, so like each person that you rescue gives you some random stuff. Like there's a random person who's not part of your crew but is a rescue that unlocks your Piclopedia, which lets you look at all the enemies you've encountered, and then someone that lets you look at all the treasure you've collected. And not every person that you rescue has something going on, but a lot of them do, and a lot of them will have like little side quests for you. Like one of them is give your Pikmin flowers, and then I'll give you some raw materials for that. Pretty much the rewards for everything is raw materials. But, that's very helpful when you're building a lot of bridges and stuff. Or building turn nozzles for, like, a sprinkler to turn off so that you don't need blue Pikmin to go through something. Yeah, I had a lot of fun. The Dandori stuff gave me, like, oh, I'm still not done with this game. I want to do some challenges and, get platinum on all of them, which is also an achievement mission thing that you can get. The only thing I didn't do was get platinum on all the Sage Leaf challenges, because that's too much. It is no, I'm not gonna do that. But apart from that, okay, I think there's one other challenge I didn't do, but it's not worth it. There's a couple things that you unlock really late game that are just not worth it. It's like, well, I've pretty much beaten the game, why would I do that? And pretty much the last thing you do in the post game is fight a big boss, which it's not my favorite big boss of the series. That's gotta go to the... Well, I don't really remember the Titan Dweevil, so maybe I don't want to say that, but I would say, especially because in Pikmin 2, electricity would instantly kill your Pikmin, so you pretty much had to use your yellow Pikmin until you beat the part of the Titan Dweevil where you take off its electricity treasure, which was stupid and a hassle. Now it just kind of stuns your Pikmin, so that's nice. I did really like the final boss in Pikmin 3, sort of, but also not, because it was a weird boss and a weird way to fight it. I like the idea of the Titan Dweevil, but I guess in practice the boss of Pikmin 3 worked better. But the final boss for Pikmin 4 is... it's good, but at the same time, it was weird. It was a weird boss. Like usual, it makes it so that you have to use a few different types of Pikmin, but it has an attack that just kills your Pikmin, which I was not expecting. And also, it is just a weird boss to fight. But, it was fine. It was appropriate for the game. It was okay. Speaking of bosses, I really felt like a lot was missing as far as bosses go. Because Pikmin 2 had just a crazy collection of bosses. Like, I mean, absolutely insane. Like, of bosses from the previous game, they had, like, variants of that are, like, twice as strong or whatever. A couple, like, recognizable bosses made a return, but it also just feels like there's a lot missing. I was looking for some of those big bombastic bosses, and a lot of them just weren't there, it felt like. Yeah, it's a good game. I'm happy that Pikmin is getting some love. Maybe we'll eventually get a Pikmin 5, who knows? Ooh, one thing I have completely forgotten to talk about is the night levels, which are new. So each Pikmin game, besides the first one, has added 2 new Pikmin. This one's no different, except besides the ice Pikmin, which are really cool, and I like that they can, like, freeze enemies. Like, in Pikmin 2, you had the purple ones, which would stun enemies. They don't really do that this time. Probably because that was too strong. But now the ice Pikmin are too strong because they can just freeze enemies if you have enough of them attacking enough. But yeah, besides the ice Pikmin, which were a great addition, Now you have the glow Pikmin, which are exclusive to nighttime, except when you finish a night mission, then you can get some glow seeds, which lets you use glow Pikmin in caves. But I didn't really use them in caves because I didn't need them. Glow Pikmin are immune to everything, except for being eaten or squished, but they're immune to all the elemental attacks, which is pretty cool. And they have this attack where if you charge up their charge attack, you can turn them into a glowy ball, and then they'll jump on and stun like some enemies. And in order to make more of them just during the night levels and not, outside of the night levels, which that's the glow seeds, but during the night levels, you basically have to collect these little star fragments, I think is what they're called, and bring them to the luminol, which is your goal in the night mission is to protect the luminol. And you can either last until morning or you can defeat all the enemies. Either way, that's how you finish a night mission. And those are fun little challenges. It's like another little Dandori related thing. Sometimes you'll have to protect one, which is a lot easier. Sometimes you'll have to protect two, which makes you need to use Dandori, and you might need to split up yourself in Ochi. Ochi cannot use the charge attack, unfortunately, which is unfortunate. He has his own charge move that's incredibly useful, but the glow Pikmin charge attack is probably more useful because it can stun enemies, or at least it can stun them for longer. And one thing I noticed in the night levels is they brought the Smoky Prog back, which I had forgotten about from Pikmin 1. I was hoping to not remember that, but oh my goodness, the Smoky Prog it's cool, but I don't think it's as deadly as it used to be, which is nice, because it used to be a huge problem. And glow Pikmin can dispatch it pretty easily, which is good and which is nice. And if you're quick enough and you know where the Smoky Prog egg is, you can usually destroy it before the Smoky Prog breaks out, which that's a nice little aspect to the challenge. And you can also kill a lot of the enemies before they become aggressive and start chasing the luminol down. Again, I really like that they brought Dandori into the series. They now encouraging it. Anyway, I think that's everything. I keep remembering things that I forgot. But yeah, it's a great game. I'm glad Pikmin's getting some love. It kind of needs it. I don't know if it deserves it, but it needs it and I want it. But I'm glad it's getting more attention, because looking back when it first came out, it was kind of like this little niche series, and I felt kind of special for being a part of it. And now it's like, oh, everyone gets to enjoy it, and that's also kind of nice. And I'm hoping some other series get some love like that, because the Switch literally prints money, and now is the time. Either now or whatever their next console is, which supposedly is going to be very Switch-like, from what rumors have been saying. So, yeah, anyway, thank you for listening, and I hope you have a great day.